Recently, Whole Foods Market brought its Source for Good certification program to its coffee aisles. Starting with 13 blends of its private label coffee, the Source for Good seal signifies the coffee has been sourced in a responsible way that benefits workers and the environment. With the certification program now in a major category such as coffee, what's next for the program at Whole Foods? I'm Greg Sleeter, Executive Editor of Store Brands. Joining me today to talk more about Source for Good is Alyssa Vescio, Whole Foods Senior Vice President of Merchandising Center Store. Alyssa has responsibility for grocery, wellness, beauty, local merchandising, merchandise penetration, and merchandise execution. Alyssa, welcome to the podcast. And that's a long list of responsibility you got there.
Hi, Greg. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited today to talk to you about Source for Good.
Yeah, we're excited as well. Obviously, there's a lot that goes on with ESG and sustainability right now, and Whole Foods is sort of at the forefront of that. So it's an exciting time for us to really to gain some insight in terms of what you guys are doing. So really to start with, if you could, give us the history of Whole Foods Source for Good initiative and how it's been used to source product.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Before jumping into Source for Good, I'd like to just start by touching on the profound impact that food has on the world. So one of the reasons that I find such reward in my role at Whole Foods Market is the realization that there is really no other industry, from my view, where you can have as significant of an impact on both people and the planet as the food industry and food system. And that's because everybody eats. So there is this universal connection to food. And for me, there's something really special about being a part of the food industry and fostering positive impact in such a wide-reaching way. Which brings us to Source for Good. Source for Good is a really meaningful example of the positive impact that can be made within the food industry and food system. So to start with just a little bit of context on the program, in 2007, we began an initiative that was under the Whole Trade Guarantee. And that was a project born out of proactive engagement with certifiers, really addressing environmental and worker welfare concerns. In 2020, we expanded and we rebranded that program into Source for Good, which really extended its worldwide impact on products from where they're sourced. And today, Source for Good collaborates with third-party certifiers to support responsible sourcing by providing tangible improvements in farm workers' lives, in strengthening the communities where they work and where our products are ultimately sourced, as well as promoting environmental stewardship where the crops are grown. So since its inception, Source for Good has provided millions of dollars in resources, which really empowers thousands of farm workers and their families across the globe.
That's interesting. And there's a lot there and a lot to unpack. So I think to start with, from the initiative, since it was launched, how has that improved the products that Whole Foods carries across the store?
Yeah, the way that Source for Good improves the products is that it really deepens the relationship between the suppliers and our merchandising team. And that reinforces our company value of practicing win-win supplier partnerships. So it allows us to go deeper on how the products that we're carrying are brought to life, the impact that they have throughout the supply chain. And ultimately, this allows for more intentional curation of what we carry within our stores. And this is really compelling, not only for our supplier partners, but also for our customers and our team members too, because we know from our experience that as an employer, a really amazing experience, whether it's shopping or with products, it starts with a team member who feels pride in their work and how that work connects back into our company purpose to nourish people and the planet. So team member growth and happiness is another one of our core values. And for us, when we work with suppliers who are also taking care of their employees, who are going above and beyond for their communities, ultimately, I think that shows in the quality of products that they create and that we're able to offer to our customers.
And then I guess a little bit on the flip side, how has the program helped improve the lives of the folks that it sources products from?
Yeah, really great question. I think I'll start by sharing a couple examples of the program's impact. One of my personal favorites really is our Source for Good tulips, which are from Blumia Farms. This is a farm in rural Virginia who we've collaborated with for over the last 13 years. And I had the opportunity to visit Blumia last year and to really see the tangible impact on their workers firsthand. So Blumia achieved the distinction of being the very first flower farm in the US that was certified by the Fair Food program. And that certification ensures that the sales of Blumia tulips directly benefit the farm workers who plant and harvest for them. So as a result, these workers now enjoy wages well above the Virginia minimum. They receive a biweekly performance premium, and they offer a 24/7 support line that's really designed to provide them with a platform to voice any concerns or feedback on their working conditions. Another example would be bananas in our store from Earth University. These are also sourced for good. And Earth University is a nonprofit university and farm in Costa Rica. And their mission is to empower through study. So every purchase of Earth University bananas really helps to fund student scholarships. And the result is that when these students leave the university, they have the goal of being change agents, really combating poverty and promoting ethical and sustainable food production in their home countries. So those are just two examples of how we're really investing in worker welfare and the positive impact that's made through these Source for Good products.
What were the motivating factors that led Whole Foods to bring Source for Good to coffee?
Yeah, I mean, quite simply, I've always wanted to do it since Source for Good launched in perishables. I've had a desire to bring it to the center of the store. The question was really how quickly could we do it and where would we start? And that's why I'm so excited to talk to you about Source for Good in coffee today. All of our Whole Foods Market brand coffees already held a third-party certification for sourcing, either from Rainforest Alliance or from Fair Trade. And that is a key piece of the Source for Good program. The coffees were previously under Allegro Coffee Company, and the Allegro team still continues to source the coffee for us. And that's important because they have decades of work partnering closely with these suppliers. And so they're a key collaborator in making sure that the program and our efforts ultimately provide the services that best benefit the workers throughout the coffee supply chain.
And you mentioned that, I guess, the coffee assortment as a whole at Whole Foods has other certifications, but will we see, or are there plans to bring Source for Good to more of the coffee assortment as we go forward?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I mean, third-party certifiers are a crucial collaborator for our Source for Good program. So as this program expands, any additional products would be required to have some of those third-party certifications. The other thing that I would just add is we think those certifications are really important because from a study that we did, 4 in 5 Americans, or 81%, say that they like an easy way to really determine which products have been responsibly sourced. And so trusted certifications, including Source for Good, really help with that for our customers.
Ultimately, the explanation to consumers is the final key to this,
Yeah.
and there's all the great work that goes on behind the scenes that benefits workers and maybe improves product quality and all that. But ultimately, you've got to communicate that to your shoppers. What are the steps that Whole Foods takes to do that?
Yeah, there are a number of different ways we communicate Source for Good to our customers. It's really a multifaceted approach, but we focus on transparency, on engagement, and then education for our customers. So in stores, as I've mentioned, our customers can easily identify Source for Good through the labeling that showcases the program's seal. And so that makes it really easy for them to identify these products within our stores. We couple that labeling with signage that really helps tell the story of the program, that gets into farmer specifics and worker specifics and their stories who are benefiting from the program. And then outside of our stores, we also leverage digital platforms and marketing campaigns to tell customers who aren't physically in our stores more about the program, about the initiative, and again, highlighting the standards, the communities, and the impact of Source for Good. And so ultimately, what we aim to do by sharing these stories is to highlight how every item that's bought, whether it's a bag of coffee, a bunch of tulips, or a bunch of bananas, that it ultimately contributes to the betterment of those environmental and social conditions through that Sourced for Good seal.
Do you find that this third-party certifications, whether they're Source for Good or others, do they have a noticeable impact on the ultimate decision of what the consumer buys in store?
They do. I mean, what we've found is that consumers want to make conscious decisions when they're buying products. But it can also be confusing. It can be time consuming. It can be really frustrating if the information isn't easy to find, not digestible. And so by introducing the Source for Good seal or some of these certifications, what we're really allowing our customers to do is to make these decisions much more easily, that they can be mindful and conscious in their purchasing decisions, but use some of these things as shortcuts to navigate the products.
Kind of on a broader basis, as we look at the sustainability efforts at Whole Foods, can you talk about some of the other initiatives that are happening across the company?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited about the progress that we've made in sustainability and some milestones that we've met over the course of the past year. A really good resource to get more information is our 2022 impact report, which we launched earlier this year. And that really highlights all of our initiatives and progress in areas like combating food waste, reducing our carbon footprint, how we're mindfully sourcing products beyond Source for Good, as well as fostering the growth of our own really incredible team member base. But a few things that I would pull out from that report to highlight. One is that in 2022, we kept more than 72% of waste produced at our stores and facilities out of landfills. We also maintained recycling programs at nearly 96% of our stores. And we had organic diversion programs like composting in nearly 450 of our stores last year. We also donated more than 30 million meals to 1,000 unique food rescue and redistribution organizations. And we sourced 250 million pounds of fair trade ingredients. So those are just a few of the highlights of the impact report that give a little context and color for some of the initiatives we have underway in sustainability. But as we look forward, we're really continuing to embark on this collective effort to reduce our waste, to reduce packaging, and our overall carbon footprint. And so our new strategy really aims to minimize that food waste by 2030 through the initiatives like I've mentioned, food donation, recycling, further organic diversion.
You touched earlier the feedback you get from consumers and what consumers say they want to buy and how they buy it sometimes is a little different. But I think consumers today more than ever feel an ownership with the retailers they shop at and want to express their opinions. What do you hear from your shoppers as it relates to sustainability, whether you're doing things well or maybe they want something to be done better?
Yeah. Really at the end of the day, at the heart of everything we do is our customers. I mean, everything we do within merchandising is in service of our customers and our stores. And so we look to create a truly unique and inspirational shopping experience that earns that loyalty you just described. And so we capture feedback daily from our store team members who are interacting with our customers and sharing what they're looking for and how, initiatives like we're talking about today play into their decisions. We collect their direct customer feedback in many ways, but one of which is through our customer insights team. We monitor sales as an indicator of customer preferences. And so we're looking at what's selling, what areas of sustainability, and we iterate our selection as a result of feedback that comes through in all of these ways. And I'll share, through these channels, we are absolutely seeing our customers gravitate toward more sustainable options. It's important to them. And one other additional thing I guess I would highlight is we just released our top 10 food trends for 2024. And one of my favorites is water conservation. And so this trend really highlights how we're seeing water conservation come to life across many categories and also through our customers' desire to make a more positive impact in this space. So those are just a handful of examples of how we collect the feedback and then how we ultimately iterate our product selection as a result.
Can you touch on a little bit how Whole Foods, when it works to develop and grow its private brand assortment, how it incorporates sustainability and the principles that it wants to push into the development of those products?
Yeah, integrating sustainability into our product development for private label is a priority, including embracing a transparent supply chain. So this is one of the many ways I would say that we ensure our customers feel good about what they're putting in their baskets. And as we've touched on, many times in this conversation, Source for Good is one way we're doing that within private label. But another area I would really highlight is regenerative agriculture. This is an area that I and we at Whole Foods Market are incredibly excited about. And within private label, we have 3 products already that are certified regenerative organic. My personal favorite is the dried mango. The product is delicious, but more important than that, it also has such a positive impact, being one of the only private label regenerative organic certified products available on the market. And so we'll continue to look for ways to advance our sourcing practices, starting with our own brands. And these are just a couple of the ways I would highlight today.
The whole topic of sustainability to me is fascinating because I feel like we're at the tipping point. I mean, we're just really starting to see what we can do, kind of the royal we, if you will, to protect the planet. And there's so many things that are developed, and then there's maybe unintended consequences. So like there's always another challenge around the corner. But as you and Whole Foods work through this process, what are you finding as some of the bigger challenges?
Such a good question and a good point. I would echo your sentiment on the tipping point, because from my perspective, to have the most positive impact on people and the planet through the food system, we can't do it alone. And so healing people and the planet requires us all to work together, which is one of the greatest challenges, I think, is like really this call to action across our supplier base, across the industry. And so while it's a challenge, it's also a great reward, I would say, in terms of working with industry partners and peers, as well as suppliers, to expand our impact in areas like regenerative agriculture and ensure that this tipping point builds momentum for the positive impact we can have.
And coffee is an interesting category when you look at it, because obviously sustainability is not a Whole Foods issue. It's not a US issue. It's a global issue. And when you talk coffee, coffee is coming from all parts of the world. So you're dealing with different governments, different, scales of economy. I mean, there's so much at play right now. So coffee is almost an interesting case study in how you do this, to better source, to improve the quality of life for people, to improve the environment, all that stuff that goes into it. So coffee to me is a real interesting case study in all this.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I mean, it's why I'm so excited that we started in coffee, because it has such a profound impact. I mean, so many people I know drink coffee as a part of their daily routines. And so it's a product that truly has a material impact. But then when you also think about the worldwide supply chain that brings that coffee to our cups every day, it's a pretty powerful way, frankly, to have an impact.
It's funny. I'm one of the few people I know that I'm not a coffee drinker. And I know so many people, whether they're, buying stuff at Whole Foods or going to Starbucks or whatever, there's an addiction to it. And I often joke with people, if there's something that's going to save the planet, it's going to be coffee. Because so many people rely on it on a daily basis that if it wasn't here or it was 3 times the price, people would be up in arms. So I often kind of joke with people, coffee is going to save the planet at some point. So
it's definitely a part of my morning routine.
Yeah.
To get my day off right.
So Alyssa, as we look towards next year, are there any new initiatives or expanding initiatives at Whole Foods related to sustainability that we should be watching?
Yeah, I mean, I will say we're actively working on our sustainability goals for 2024 and beyond right now. And so it's a little bit early to be able to share. But what I can say is that I'm really excited about where we've headed. I mean, some of the initiatives and the impact that I've highlighted today, again, are us like just getting started. And so our commitment to continue advancing our impact is absolutely intact. And we will continue to raise the bar on our efforts in sustainability, especially in areas like Source for Good and regenerative agriculture and the areas we've discussed today.